clarify for us, what would be the difference in doing that versus playing his music live at a club?
At a club, there's no, at a club it's played and it's going to be, so when you buy the track, the royalties are included for you to play it live, but not to perform it live and record it live and keep streaming it.
So you're talking about, for example, we've been learning in some of the material that we've been going over with the music business education series about blanket licensing that venues do. So
Mhm.
that, are you saying that that would be sort of, when you say the royalty sort of included, do you mean the blanket license that the venue is covering for, let's say, all of the music that that particular performing rights organization might be in charge of? So let's say like you belong to ASCAP. And so
Right.
ASCAP has ways of tracking or estimating, usually it's an estimate on Armand Van Helden's, music being played in clubs all throughout the world. And we're going to guess that it's this much and it's part of your ASCAP blanket licensing,
Mhm.
and having the performance royalties kind of flowed that way in a live situation versus performance royalties not really being collected on a platform like Facebook in the same way that they might be on a Spotify, for example. Right. So is that what you mean by them kind of being built in when you're playing live? When they,
Well,
whereas they aren't if you're doing like a kitchen set streaming.
so there is a different chapter of, I don't know what it is specifically, but so when you buy a track from me,
Hmm.
you buy the royalties unless you buy it on iTunes. iTunes, it's like 99 cents for a song or something like that, or $1.29. Um, but on Beatport, it's different. It's going to be like $2.50, so that you're paying for the royalties for the artist up front.
Okay.
so so what? But the problem is I'm only gonna, if I play it out, it's going to be live here. I'm not recording it and
Yeah.
I'm not keeping it up on Facebook, because then you're going to be bumping into streaming royalties,
Mhm.
because even though there's a
Some would say mechanical royalties because you're actually making a copy of it, making a
right,
video, making a production out of it, sort of,
right.
and creating like the rule for mechanical royalties is like you're creating something. So you're actually, you might even be running into problems with that too. It's a point to
Well,
think about.
so all of the labels have kind of switched their gears from Facebook to Twitch, and now they're just watching people. And if they, if you're playing their songs, they're gonna they can issue a cease and desist instantly on your account.
Interesting. So
Hmm.
DJs have a little bit of thinking to do in terms of what comes next here because, you know, well, there's a lot of us do, all of us do. Some, musicians can't be out there performing live. So that's one huge stream of income. Along with that, the merchandise that they normally would be selling, all the summer festivals are not going on, my little $75 hoodie that I would normally buy at Red Rocks this summer is not going to happen. So all of those things. And then so people are trying to figure out, well, let me still engage with my community and be available online. But now we're having this conversation like there's royalty issues with that, so that's probably going to end up getting shut down soon.
Right.
So, maybe we are wanting, if we are songwriters, if we are producers, we might be getting into our creative flow like you are. You're doing a lot of mastering projects right now. But like you just mentioned, DJs are not out there in your genre and in your world that you're making music for. DJs buy that music specifically to play live. So that's not really going to be happening. So what it like, we're kind of getting into doom and gloom a little bit here, but if we were to brainstorm and think about what could we creatively or collectively do as music lovers, as music writers, as people who are looking into the music industry as a possible career, or furthering their career in the music industry, what are we doing here? Are we looking for day jobs? Like what's going to happen right now in your opinion? Do you have any thoughts?
I mean, it is, I wouldn't say it's doom and gloom. It's just like we have to figure out we have to figure out and game plan and be smart about what we're doing. Um, I don't know what is going to happen until, I mean, look at like clubs and bars. and nightclubs and Red Rocks. I mean, those places I mean, are they even going to be able to survive?
Right. Yeah.
So if they don't survive, I'm sure some other investor will come in and buy them and change their name and give it a facelift. But I think what's going to happen now is there's going to be live. Um, they're going to do live performances on like Facebook and on social medias, and I think they're going to start charging people a certain fee. And I'm just guessing. This is hypothetically. I don't know if it's going to happen. This is my guess.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna go through and say, hey, if you want to tune in and listen to Jamiroquai, it's going to cost you $3.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the artist gets $1.50, or I mean, I don't know, who knows, $5. I mean, it could be, it could.
Or maybe you subscribe to an entire label, you know, or something like that, where you're able to watch everybody's performances and hear releases. And maybe that's something that labels, you know, like Moody Recordings, maybe you guys got to start thinking about something to offer in terms of, um, you know, mixes or live, you know, live performances from artists where it's being orchestrated and marketed online, you know, and now we're just kind of creating this digital business model even further, you know, which is just, it is really insane to think about, because we do teach in music business education about, you know, the live experience is something that you can never take away. And that's why it's still profitable. And that's why people still tour. I mean,
Right,
I spend money on concert tickets and I'm in the industry. I mean, I don't know about you, but you know, I'm not going to go run around and try to get on everybody's list anymore. I'm just like, I'm just going to buy the ticket and just have the experience, right? I'm
right,
so tired of, like, aren't you, like, unless it's a friend's show or something where it's just going to be easy to walk in, I just buy a ticket, you know, these days. So, I mean, I'm spending money on that, and a lot of other people have been, and we do talk about that as this last sort of beautiful remnant of real music. Like, we need to be out there experiencing this together, because that's what music is about, and that's actually where the money still is. And now we're in a situation where, you know, even that is something to reconsider. So I just think I appreciate the conversation, thinking through some of those ideas. It is just very strange to be in this situation where things are kind of like switching around and changing really rapidly. Um, and I think you're on the right track there, thinking about sort of ways that you repackage and offer digital content um, somehow to remain profitable. So maybe some of our young students that think more quickly than both of us do anymore can come up with some great ideas.
right.
You know, we're the old school 1999 dancing to records kind of people, right?
That's it. That's it. You know.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah, very cool. Well, what else can, so I want to just ask, kind of step away from the COVID-19 discussion and all of that for a second. I would like to get a little bit deeper with you sometime on, maybe not on this conversation because we've been talking for a minute, but maybe we can have a part two where we go in a little bit more into streaming and royalties, and how different parts of the money will flow from the label
yeah.
perspective, because I know you've been managing a lot for them. And maybe you can even give us a sneak peek into sort of how some of those accounting sheets look and things like that. But we'll save that for next time, because that's getting like a little too deep in the nitty gritty for, you know, 10 o'clock at night here is when we're
Right.
talking.
Right.
Um, leave us with some advice that you might give to a young person who is, you know, really passionate about music, or they want to explore a career where they can be in a studio like you're in right now, with their bells and whistles and toys, and that's what they're into. They like to tweak sounds and really get into the mastering side. Just kind of anyone that's interested in having a career like you have had, doing various different things inside the music industry. If you could have told yourself at 20 years old or 19 years old any advice, what advice would you have told yourself at that time?
Oh, wow. That's a good question.
Stay away from the girls. No, just kidding. I would always tell myself, stay away from the guys. Just focus on your own thing.
Yeah. See, that's. I mean,
I'm kidding.
I was. Yeah. I mean, but I was mostly focusing is very very important in being in the right state of mind and being in the right place in your life to be able to write music and be creative. So
Mhm.
if things are like bothering you in your personal life, if you know, obviously, if you know, if you're having family problems, or if you're having financial problems, you know, make sure that you're stable, so that you can get to a point where you can exhale and breathe and actually be able to work freely on your music and not have to worry about the other things that are very important in life. So for me to kind of get into that stage, I had to have a lot of things taken away from me. And and what I mean by that is, like, I injured myself, so I wasn't able to do as many activities as I was able to. I tore my Achilles in 2008. So that could have, I used to play competitive volleyball, and I coached for a competitive junior Olympic volleyball program. I played 4 years in college, 2 years in Europe. So that after all that, I made it through all of that alive, and I was able to kind of rehab myself. I was like, okay, I'm going to get back into music, like full blown. I'm going to go fully commit. Nothing else is going to take up my time. I don't have any. I'm not married. I don't have any kids. I don't have a dog. I don't have a pet fish. Um, all I do is just work on music. I work a day job. I do development for an online university, and then at night I engineer. I run the label, master, and I create. So the one thing that is most important is just making sure that you're in the right place as a person before you can actually get creative. And if you're not feeling like you're in that creative state yet, it'll automatically come to you when you just have to pay attention to yourself and listen to yourself. And I think that's going to give you the guidance or the sound or the ideas that you want. But at the same time, it's just you've got to be in the right place for everything. And if you're not going to be productive.
Hmm. So is that a little bit of why you continue to sort of work in the development field, is to provide that sense of like that base structure for yourself to work from? I feel like some people would ask, well, you're having a lot of success in music. Do you need that day job? Like, are you interested in keeping that around because it does provide you that sort of like kind of stability you're talking about?
Yeah, so I mean, I do need the day job because of insurance. Um, I didn't work for probably about 3 years, and I just worked on music and running the label. And I just, it's not that I was out of work. I just didn't work. I didn't need to work.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to work on the label in myself. And, I was very creative. I produced and released 2 years in a row, 40 different releases.
Wow.
And, there's
And you
52
did this in 2 years.
in one year, 40 releases in a year.
Oh, okay. And you did that 2 years in a row.
Yep.
Wow. Wow.
So that's like, I'll never do it again. But it's like overkill. I mean, that's 40 releases. There's 52 weeks in the year. I had a new track coming out almost every week for a year.
Mm.
And it's good that I kind of got that out of my system. And then I decided, I'm like, okay, less is more. And, I kind of put like, I started getting signed to these major labels. And once I did, I'm like, okay, now you guys are going to have to wait. And I'm going to be a little bit more picky and choosy on where I'm going to sign my releases to and why.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like building up your own confidence in what you're doing. And it's also building up a resume of what you're doing. So when you have that many releases and so much music content as an artist, you're able to approach labels and and be professional because you have so much content behind your name.
Hmm.
And that's important as an artist, as a growing artist, having content, original content that represents your name.
Yeah. So when you are being more selective with labels that you want to work with, and I guess I want to clarify, when you're saying major labels, are you meaning like larger independent labels? Or are you talking about like Sony, like actual real major quote unquote labels, the five majors? Or are you talking about major indies?
I'm talking about like major indies. I
Yeah,
mean, major
like,
indies.
yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know how. I mean, obviously, Sony is incredibly huge, and Atlantic is huge.
Universal
But
and
but they'll license. So like, let's say you have a hit song, and it's gone viral, and it's a hit song. Every DJ is playing it. Um, that's when those big labels will come in, and they don't originally license the track, but
mhm,
they see that it's making money, and then they're going to buy the licensing for and the royalties for like 7 years.
mhm. Okay.
And but for you to even give yourself a chance to kind of get to that level, you kind of have to be on a major label.
Yeah.
And it took me like 5 years to get signed to Tool Room.
Mhm.
And and I'm working on, right now I'm working on some other big labels. I'm working with Stereo Productions. I'm also working with another label called Saved out of Spain. Nick Fanchuli runs that label, and um, Chus and Chavallos runs Stereo, and those are huge labels. They're massive,
Mhm.
and they make a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but they're not making the kind of money that Sony's making.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. So when you are, you mentioned kind of putting out these 40 tracks a year for a couple years, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna make a few less tracks. I'm gonna be a little more selective. How do you pick and choose what labels you want to work with?
Um, most of the labels that I want to work with are going to be international labels, like that are big in other countries, because I don't want to. In other countries, dance music is accepted. It's like played on the radios. Here in the United States, dance music is the stepchild to hip hop and pop music.
Mhm.
So to me, it's like, why would I want to like shoot for a label here in the United States when I'm on a lot of really great labels here, when I could be on a massive label in Spain or in Barcelona or in London or Blackpool. Like that Europe is always going to be ahead of the United States when it comes to dance music, just because it's played on their major radios. It's accepted. You can go to a barbecue and listen to, Eddie Amador. Here in Colorado or in Denver and California, we don't even have dance stations
Mhm.
on the radio. So it's like it's kind of like, which is good because it's still underground. It's keeping the music underground. So if you want to go to listen to some underground music, sometimes you want to go to an underground place, like, after hours parties, or that used to happen, but
Yeah,
that's just,
who knows when those are going to happen again? Oh, it's like, yeah,
yeah.
we're both kind of trapped inside right now. I'm definitely feeling it. So other than, okay, so kind of exposure to another market, it's kind of more exciting to be on a bigger label. What other advantages might there be to signing to one of these bigger labels? I mean, is it more money behind promotion? Is it more opportunities for you personally as an artist? Are the deals different? What about advances? Can you talk us through a little bit more of that part of things?
Sure. I think the following, if you choose a label like, and I'm just going to use Tool Room as an example. So Tool Room, when they do a release, I was signed to a compilation, the Ibiza compilation, and they had 75 songs on this compilation that came out, and they did videos for every one of them, introduction videos. They sent them to all the artists. They sent us all like a luxury, uh, like sticker pack and like hoodies. Like, they take care of you. The contracts are pretty much similar to the ones that are here in the United States,
Mhm.
but the fans and the following are massive. So if you get signed to a big label, you automatically, like, I think my Instagram went from like 2,000 people to like 8,000 people
Just from being on
over
the room.
just from being on Tool Room. And then like my YouTube channel, I had to get a YouTube channel set up for my own music, because I have so much music floating around online. There wasn't a hub, so I had to get into curation with the YouTube creators to create a page, and they finally okayed me for that. Then you have to get verified on all. Of course, you got to get verified on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter. I mean, which is impossible still for a lot of people, because you have to have a lot of people following you. But what that does is it also helps brand. It helps the whole brand. It helps with working on getting to the point. So like right now, if I do a remix for an artist, if an artist hits me up and says, "Hey Ben, I want a remix," I usually get an advance. So right up front, before the track's even released, for me to start working on it, they'll pay me.
And that's a result of being on labels that people sort of respect, and they feel
Right.
comfortable giving you that to work with them.
Right. And well, and it also helps that my music's charted and it's being charted by a lot of other artists. So, and what I mean by charted is not like Billboard magazine. I mean like Beatport charts, sales charts, like through Beatport or Track Source. I'm being put on a lot of different playlists through Spotify. You know, I got to premiere on Tool Room Radio with Mark Knight.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, that all helps like myself as an artist.
Mhm.
And then it's just credibility. I'm getting to the point where uh you know, like it's kind of getting big, but it's, I don't know. I mean, I keep working on it and keep working on it, but time will tell, you know.
Yeah. Thank you for all the advice and all the info for the students. I really appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. It's an honor to get to share